Hello students, welcome to VHS e-classes. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic in nursing research, that is qualitative and mixed method research approaches. Okay, so let's start with the objectives, learning objective. So here we'll learn about the various concepts of qualitative research approaches. What are the qualifications and different types of research design? We also will try to understand the qualitative paradigm and the characteristics of various qualitative research designs. So let's start with the qualitative research design. So first thing is a basic concept of qualitative research. Now, what is qualitative research? As in previous lectures, we have talked about the quantitative research approach. So primarily, a research can be classified as qualitative and quantitative based on the nature of the information that we collect. If the collected information can be quantified in a numerical form, then we call it a quantitative researches. But there are certain informations which cannot be quantified in a numerical forms. For example, if you are studying someone's lived experience related to the retirement, if you want to study someone's experience during illness, so such experiences cannot be quantified. Okay, so for that we conduct the qualitative researches. If you remember, in the beginning of these series of lectures, we have discussed about the two basic perspective that we call a paradigm of research, that is quantitative paradigm and qualitative paradigm. So I'll talk specially about the qualitative paradigm here. So basically some of the important features are listed here. As you can see, they are also known as a naturalistic paradigm. They study the phenomena in the natural setting. Okay, they are naturalistic. So usually we do not create an artificial situations, as we have seen in many quantitative researches. Here we study the phenomena naturally, okay, in the milieu of the subject. So basically they are soft sciences. They are concerned with the philosophy of social sciences. So they are soft sciences, okay, not the hard one. Their focus is usually broad and holistic, okay. They just wanted to understand the phenomena in depth. So their focus is to have a in-depth understanding of the phenomena in a holistic manner. They are subjective. Their focus is on understanding and interpretation, okay. So they try to understand the facts that lies behind the truth, okay. So that is the main focus of understanding the things. Then reasoning, they use interactive or inductive reasoning, okay. So they make specific observation into a conclusion. So they make observations and all the observations are constantly compared, and then they write a final conclusion. So basically they are the one to generate the hypothesis. They are the one to make a conclusion from the specific observation. That is why they are inductive in nature, okay. The basis of knowing, they are always looking meaning and discovery. Instead of studying something, most of the qualitative researchers are strive and try to understand that, okay, try to learn that. Then basically the analysis is done with the words, as we do not have any specific physiological measures when you do qualitative researches. So primarily we do a taxonomic analysis, okay. We study the text, what was said and how it was said, how it is related to others. So constantly we compare. So taxonomic analysis, thematic analysis are very important feature of qualitative paradigm. And perception of reality, what they say, how they perceive the reality, they say the reality is unique and individual. Like as we all know, science believe in a single reality, okay. They says reality is something that shared by many people. In contrast to qualitative researches talks about that reality is what you construct, it is what you perceived, okay. So that is about the basics of qualitative research paradigm. Now if we talk about the important characteristics of qualitative research design, so I'll first list here and then we'll discuss one by one in detail. So the first is data triangulation. Okay, we'll start from here. Sorry. The first one is they are flexible approach. Then they are holistic in nature. Then, of course, they are lengthy. They take more time than usual as compared to the quantitative researches. Ongoing analysis. They are emergent designs. And researcher here act as an instrument and bricolage. So again, avoid it. But okay, I'll discuss this also. Now, first one is a data triangulation. That is the first characteristics. What is a triangulation? Here, we use more than one technique to get in-depth data. Okay, when you want to collect the same information by adapting the multiple methods, then we call it data triangulation. Like for example, if you wanted to know someone's habit of smoking, so one way of asking, you can ask a person, do you smoke? This is a self-report way. The person is being asked a question. He may say yes or no. But if you want to make it more authentic, or you want to validate this, what you can do, you can use another technique. You can make an observation of the same person, and you want to see, you can observe that person and see that whether the person is smoking or not. So same thing I wanted to know with the two different methods. One is interview, second one is a observation. So that is called a triangulation. So data triangulation means we adapt multiple methods of collecting the data, and the purpose is just, of course, to enhance the validity of the finding. Second feature of qualitative researches are they are more flexible. Okay, much flexible and unstructured than the quantitative design, because qualitative designs are something that we plan very loosely, and we make most of the decisions, okay, while going in the field. So they're flexible in terms of time, in terms of number of subjects you're going to study, in terms of the method of data collection. I'll give an example for this. Like suppose you are conducting a qualitative research where you decided to interview a person who got retirement in his home. Now the person is not there at home and is not comfortable to talk in front of his family. So suddenly you change your idea of conducting an interview at home. You've taken the person to the nearest community center where he was more comfortable. So this kind of flexibility scope is there in the qualitative researches. So what will work in the field will make it more flexible. Okay, so in terms of time, in terms of resources, in terms of method of data collection, or sometime in the analysis part, we are very flexible. Then they are very holistic. So please understand the meaning of holism. Holism means it is sum is SUM. Okay, we say sum is always greater than its parts. Okay, so to strive for an understanding of the whole of essence of the phenomena, we are conducting the qualitative researches. We adopt inductive approach where we make specific observations, and we keep on constantly comparing these observations and reaching on conclusion and making one solid conclusion from that. Okay, we draw a conclusion from that. So that is a holistic approach. They try to understand the entire phenomena, okay, in a detail. So where the purpose is to develop a deep and rich understanding of the phenomena. Okay, we never study qualitative we never conduct qualitative inquiry in a fragmented manner. We always do in that way. Second is lengthy. Of course, if they are holistic, they use various technique of data collection, they are emergent, so of course there will be something which take more time, so they are more lengthy. Next feature is a ongoing analysis. What is that ongoing analysis? Understand, it's a very important point. Okay, usually we have seen in a quantitative researches, first we collect the data, and after completion of data we go for the analysis. But here in qualitative researches, what we do, data collection and analysis go side by side in this circular manner. That means you collect data from subject 1, then you analyze, then on the basis of that analysis of the subject 1, you determine the need for second subject and then go to the subject 2. Okay, so what was told by subject 1, you analyze that, and from there you generate the need for second interview. Okay, then you go to the second person. Let's say you ask the children engaged in child labor about their, discourse. So someone says, I love mobile phone. Okay. Then they says, I don't care. Suppose two things he said. Okay. And he feel more autonomy for this. Now the 3 point is stated by one subject who was working or engaged in child labor. Data collection, and you analyze this person. After the analysis, then you go to the second subject, means second child who is also engaged in a child labor. You will ask him, what is your condition? What do you feel? What are your discourses? Then he's saying, yeah, mobile is I'm using much. Then he's saying that I feel, more power, like autonomy. Then he says, I don't care for society. So same 3 points are there. Apart from that, he has given you 2 more points. What is the 2 more point? Let's say, I tolerate. Means whatever people says, I tolerate whatever they says. So that is a new point here. So then maybe one more point. Like he might be saying he is a family shoulder. Okay, he is taking care of his family. He is more responsible. So now 3 points stated by first person, second person added 3 more points in that. Now after analysis of second person, we'll go to the third person. That condition, that process is known as an ongoing analysis, and that is required for qualitative researches. Next feature is they are emergent in nature. Emergent means something that evolve over the period of time. Okay, so these designs adopt flexible research approach process, which most of the methodological decisions are taken according to the need, which already I have told you. Whenever you present your qualitative idea for a grant, for the proposal, you always sell your idea, because most of the methodological part is just a loosely structured temporary things which you communicate, because qualitative researches are only done for the phenomena for that little is known. So you may not know how much time this research will take, what researches would be required, what kind of method of data collection is needed. Therefore, you are emergent here. You keep on changing your methods as required. Okay, let's say you decided to ask person with the self report. Okay, let me ask somebody about their substance abuse habits. Now you ask 20 questions, he says I don't smoke. Every time he's saying no, and you know that the person might be smoking and you're not sure about that. So what you can do, you can change this method. Now you decided, let me observe this person, let me ask third person about this person. Okay, so that kind of changes are emergent. Okay, so something that you do according to the need. Then researcher as an instrument, that is another important feature. What is that? The researcher is intensively involved in the data analysis process. Okay, using subjective interpretation of the data. So this line is very important, subjective interpretation, because as like quantitative researches, we have seen that there are some tools which are standardized, validated, more reliable, but here we do not have any tool. If you want to study someone lived experience of retirement, what tools are required? And if tools are there, then also in depth what patient is saying, and one question can trigger another question which was not listed in your interview schedule. That is why in in-depth interviews, in observations, and in other methods, we'll see in a subsequent slides what are the methods we can use for data collection, but mainly the research and interpretation is very, very important. Now in the same example which I have given you earlier, if you find that someone says that particular person is a chain smoker, and while asking a question, while conducting an interview, the person said he don't smoke. So now you have decided to change your method of data collection. Now you decided to observe the person. Okay, so researcher is always being used as a interpreter of the things. So that's why he is an instrument. There is no, like, as you can see, if suppose I have an issue in my heart, there is a ECG machine will interpret the condition of my heart. But here there is no ECG machine. Researcher himself is being used for that. That's why researcher is an instrument. So these are some of the important features. So we have discussed about data triangulation, flexible approach, holistic in-depth, it takes longer time, ongoing analysis, emergent, and researcher is being used as an instrument. If you wanted to know what is bricolage, please put me in a comment box. I'll answer that. Next, we'll talk about the planning for qualitative research design. Whenever you plan for qualitative researches, what are the major things that you should keep in your mind? So briefly I'll talk about this already. And whenever you plan for qualitative design, please keep the characteristics that you studied into your mind. Okay, so first select the broad framework for the conducting the research. Okay, you cannot have a very narrow perspective while conducting a qualitative research. Okay, like when I say, let me study the socio-cultural discourse of the children engaged in child labor, it's a broader perspective. So what do you mean by socio-cultural discourses? It could be anything. Maybe it's is relation with the family, relation with the employer, okay, how he's dealing to his friends or peers, everything comes in that. So should have a broad perspective. Then maximum time, determine the maximum time to complete the project, because you cannot have a very aggressive approach of conducting this. Okay, sometimes qualitative researches that we know it's very lengthy, but it takes more than usual time. Okay, develop a broad data collection strategy. Develop the broad data collection strategy. Don't stick to only one method of data, like okay, I'll conduct only interview or I'll take only observation. Just always have a scope. Okay, whatever is required to collect the accurate information, I will adopt that. Then collect relevant written photographic materials. Cannot rely all the time on the self-report or observations and all. So whatever comes, like I'll give an example. We have conducted one ethnographic research, and when we entered to that participants' home, we made an observation what kind of walls they have, what they put in their home, what appliances they are using, okay, what are the things, how they stay, how they talk. So everything, the photographs, okay, the street, the neighborhood, everything to be taken under consideration while doing the qualitative researches. And of course, the very, very important point, identifying personal bias, views, phenomena, and ideology. Okay, because whenever you conduct a qualitative researches, it makes you more subjective. It is a need, it's a requirement. You have to be very subjective if you want to study someone in detail. Okay, so you cannot study from distance if you want to know more and more about someone or about a phenomena. So whenever you become close to somebody, whenever you become more subjective, there are chances of becoming biased. Okay, so remember one point, subjectivity in qualitative research is desirable, but whenever you become subjective, you are increasing your chances of becoming biased. So what is personal bias? Bias is something like, for example, you are making interpretation based on your own mood. Like for example, suppose you have a history in your family where somebody was alcoholic and having a lots of trouble with the family. Now we are going to study another family where there is an alcoholic person. So whatever you experience in your family, you may transform that. Okay, you may transfer in the same thing, same feeling to that. So that should not be there. Your anger, your emotions, your previous notions, your preconception should not affect the outcome of the findings. So please understand that. So these are the some important point you should always have. Next is, what are the core activities in qualitative researches we need to carry? So first is the literature review. Let's talk briefly about that. Already I have told you this in detail in a literature review. Usually literature review do not play a very important role in much important role in qualitative researches. So I'll just talk about that. Avoid leading to, so what in most of the qualitative design literature is done after the data collection only. Why? Because literature if you're done before the study, then you may become more biased. Qualitative researches are more pure form of researches. You have to go there as a blank paper. Even if you have any preconception about the phenomena which you are studying, you should always write down that. That is what we call bracketing. We'll discuss that in detail. So the purpose of literature review here is to show how current finding fit into what already known. So normally literature review we do in the last. Once your research inquiry is done, completed, then you compare your findings with the previous. And here also there is no need that you need to find some consistency, because qualitative researchers are never intended to generalize the findings. They just wanted to study that particular phenomena. Okay. Second is explicating the researcher belief. That's a very, very important. I told you this. Bracketing is something that you should always do. Okay, let me explain and decode this word bracketing. What is a bracketing? Suppose you want to study the experience after retirement. So everybody, will have some idea or opinion about retirement. Okay, so what do you like? For example, when I think about retirement, the first thing comes, okay, retirement means my life will be free. Okay, maybe people will not value me much after retirement. I may depend on others. So that is my, thoughts in my mind. So before going and conducting the research, I have to note down all these thoughts. Okay, and this process is called as a bracketing. Okay, so it's a process of setting aside one's bias and personal view on topic, where the investigator keep a diary of a personal thoughts and feeling about a topic. I know it is not possible, or it is very, very difficult to conduct or do the bracketing, because you have opinion about something. Our mind, human mind, is designed in that way that we always have some opinion about something. So we are not saying you isolate that opinion from your mind, but at least note down. So once you, what is the main purpose of noting down these things? Once you note down that, while doing an interpretation of a findings, you can just see what are the bracketing points you have written earlier. Then role of a participant as an informant. That is another important activity in qualitative research. The participant is known as a informant because he is the one to provide information. Okay, so the people studied are viewed as a participant or informant, not the subject. Researcher view subject as an active participant in the research, as they are the one who provide the information. So they are the key informant, okay, the person who having a rich knowledge about a phenomena. So we should always try to find the key informant. Now, selection of the participants. Okay, that is another important point you need to consider. Participant must have first-hand experiences. Please remember this point from this point. First-hand experience. Like for example, you want to study the experience after retirement. Only go to the person who actually living retirement. You cannot ask about retirement to the expert. Maybe the person might have done a PhD on that, but he should not be your participant. He should not be your informant. So the subject should have a first-hand experience, okay, with the research topic and to be able to talk about it. The goal is not to generalize the finding, but the rich description of the phenomena in their own words. Okay, so that's the important point. Next is setting for the data collection. Now, where you collect the data, information. So in the beginning of this topic, I told you, it is a informant driven rather than the theory driven. So where is your informant? The milieu of your informant is your setting. So most of the qualitative researches, or almost all the qualitative researches, are conducted or to be conducted in the milieu of the informant, in the natural setting. Okay, so data is collected in the field, the natural world where the people live and experience their life. Investigators should be non-intrusive, spend a prolonged time. And there's one more thing, whenever you enter, so whenever you go into their setting, you don't act like a researcher, you act like a learner. Spend a time with them. We cannot expect that you go and put your camera and say, okay, I want to study your retirement experience, tell me more about it. People will not tell you one day. You have to meet the same person multiple times. You need to develop a strong rapport with them. So once they are familiar with you, then only they will tell you the in-depth information about that. Next is approach for data collection. What approach we follow? We approach the cyclical approach. As already I have told you, data collection and data analysis go side by side. Okay, so whenever you conduct a qualitative inquiry, you always collect the data, analyze the data, and then you generate the need for next data. Okay, and there is a word called saturation. Okay, so that is a point where we stop collecting the data. What is saturation? It refers to a situation in the data analysis where participant description become more repetitive and confirm with the previously collected data. So what is that? This means how long we are going to interview somebody and from how many people you collect the data. Usually qualitative researches are conducted with a small sample size for a longer period of time. So it is more or less like you can just imagine a police is doing some kind of interrogation of someone. So if they keep on asking the question and the person has answered almost everything, But still, if you are asking, they are giving you the same answer again and again. So once you start getting repetitive answer from your participants, let's say the first person is given you the 4 point, second person is given you the 5 points, where the 3 points were common among these and 2 new point. The next person has given you again 4 point, all the 4 points were covered by the subject 1 and 2. That means it is a saturation point. Now there is no new information coming to you. So that is a point where you can close your data collection. That's a saturation. So that is about the 6 important points or things you should keep as a core activity. Number 1, literature review, that you have to do in the last. Always do bracketing. Note down your opinion, your preconception before conducting the research. Understand, identify your own behavior, belief system. And participants should have first-hand information. They are the informant, and the setting is usually natural, and the approach for data collection is a very cyclic. So you do side-by-side analysis, data collection and data analysis. And saturation is something where you stop getting new information, or you are getting a repetitive information from the subject. So that is a point where you can stop the data collection. So these 7 points you should always consider while collecting the qualitative research. So in today's lecture, we have discussed about some of the important topic or important part about the qualitative researches. So we have started with this. What is a natural paradigm? So in that we have seen qualitative researches are something where we focus on a soft science, okay, and we are mainly concerned with the broad and holistic in-depth understanding of the phenomena. These are the characteristics that we have seen, where we talk they are flexible, they are more holistic in depth, they are lengthy, okay, their ongoing analysis, okay. So all these are the characteristics, and then we have discussed these 7 core important activities while planning the qualitative researches. So that's all for today. In the next class, we'll talk about some of the important qualitative research designs. Thank you.